In today's conversation, we have the privilege of meeting a founder of a boutique consultancy in the Middle East. Oliver is a very fascinating case study in what to do as you build your career. He started in banking as a credit banker, then moved to consulting with PwC, then moved into a startup, and finally into his own consulting firm. His focus is on helping large-scale startup organizations from birth through advancement, and he has a complete distributed team that he does that with. If you're interested in building your own consultancy or doing consulting to maybe join a startup or a boutique consultancy at some point in the future, this conversation is for you. I'm so excited today to have an animated guest who has promised to tell us the truth about starting a consulting firm. Oliver, we're excited to have you and excited to get to know you. Welcome
Hi, Jenny.
to Strategy Simplified. Yeah, I'm so good. Thank you.
How are things? Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, we're really glad to have you. Your promise of honesty is an important one. And so I'm going to start you off with some questions that I need you to answer honestly that are more about you than about your journey. Okay. And the first one that I want to ask is one item that's from your bucket list.
Okay. So basically, I just got a newborn baby. It's a baby girl. And me and my wife, we love traveling. Usually we do 12 to 15 trips per year. Basically, every month we travel 1 to 2 times around the world. And I'm so excited just after COVID to take my girl on her first trip. This is really something that we have on our bucket list.
Do you already know where you're going to take her?
Yes, actually, I want to go to Asia, to Japan. I've never been there. So I want all the three of us to have a new experience.
Now, she won't be old enough yet. You might need to wait a little bit, but the toilets are one of the most incredible things about Japan. And you will have to have one when you come home. It's kind of one of the most remarkable parts of the Japanese
I'm looking forward
experience.
to it, but I think talking about the details of it
it's something everybody knows. It's just a thing. You have to know what it is. The food is also really amazing, definitely. And the people are remarkable, and the trains and all the other things. But yeah, that's incredible. I'm excited to hear about that trip when you take it. The second question is the biggest risk that you've taken that's paid off.
So actually, it's a very interesting story for me, at least 11 years ago. So I come from a very modest family, and I had to work my way off to reach where I am today. But 11 years ago specifically, I only had $2,000 in my bank account. And I just, started, I finished university and I started my career. I always wanted to do the CFA, which is one of the most recognized certificates in investment and finance in the world. And I didn't know how to do it, but I've heard of it. It's the most interesting thing. And then when I entered the bank on my second day, I met a guy that he joined as well. And he was actually doing level 1 in CFA. I told him, how are you doing it? He said, you don't have to have the experience to actually do the CFA. I remember that day I took the $2,000 I had and I paid for the registration. And then I went back home. I was like, I just spent all my money on a certificate I didn't do anything yet. This is all I have, right? And it took me time to gather it back then. And then it was honestly the best investment I ever made in my life. I think it was a turning point. And I remember 3 years after that, the same guy that told me about it didn't finish it yet. And he was still in the level 1. And by then I had the CFA and I was flying.
That's incredible. Awesome. I'm sure that will be encouraging to a lot of people that are either at the beginning or mid-process with the CFA, which is really challenging.
Look, Anna, I think if you really believe you want to do something, go ahead. Don't let anything slow you down or stop you. You might think it's the riskiest thing you're doing, but it might turn out to be the best thing that you could possibly do.
Well, tying on to that, one of the questions that I wanted to ask is about a career that you could have pursued but didn't. It sounds like that was a turning point for you. I don't know if there was something at that same time or a different time.
So most of the decisions I've taken really were like turning points, and this is how I believe. But there are two things that I really wanted to do back then, and then I changed my mind based on the objective that I have set when I was a little kid. We can get into that. But I was one of the best players in football back in the days. And I got actually a nice offer when I was 16 to join one of the leading clubs in Lebanon, to start there. But then again, I decided not to take it and continue through educational. لأنه I've never seen myself in the future as a football player. I always saw myself as someone wearing a suit and driving a convertible car. And this is where my decision was.
There you go. So no football for you.
Yeah. And another one, Jenny, let's to talk about the professional side rather than just the fun side.
No, that's
was
fine.
Moving from the banking to consulting. I think this was a very difficult decision that I made. لأنه back then I was so comfortable about banking. I had the FRM and the CFA, and in that sector it's so important and the differentiating point to have it. And I was one of the 5 in Lebanon that had CFA and FRM under 30 in whole Lebanon. So I really had a competitive advantage when I sit in interviews, and I was negotiating my way up across the board. But then, it's not me, banking. It's not my character. It's not what I want to achieve. And I wanted to travel and explore the region. And I thought that moving into consulting will open that door for me. And it will create that channel to reach out to different countries and different industries. And I use that channel through PwC, basically.
Now, I think that the answer is going to be yes, but are you happy with making that decision?
It was the best decision I've ever made. I don't regret anything I've done لأنه I am today where I wanted to be 20 years ago.
Come on, that's amazing. Do you have a convertible?
I'm serious, really. لأنه I always had an objective to be my own, let's say, to own my own firm by 30, 31. And now I'm 31. And when I was young, around like 7, 8, I always was telling my family, I want to drive a convertible car, have a suit. Now I don't wear typically a suit. After experiencing for the past 10 years, I'm more on the entrepreneurial side. But this was the vision when I was young. And at 20, I went back home and I bought my first convertible. At actually 23, I bought my first convertible, and I went back to my parents and I told them, you see, I told you 15 years ago I wanted to drive a convertible, and this is my first car. It was a Mini Cooper S, blue Mini Cooper S convertible.
Do you still have a convertible today?
I still have the car, actually. My first car, I still own it.
I have to tell you a quick story. This is a total aside. When I found out I was pregnant with my first son, it was a very emotional time for me, both happy emotions and also a little bit of grief, because I was very focused on my career. And one of the things that I cried about in my first 6 weeks of my pregnancy was having to give up my convertible. and I thought, I have a baby, I'm not allowed to have a convertible, but I still have my convertible today. My children are 8, 4, and 1.
Wow.
And so, I just want to let you know, you have a newborn daughter, but you can keep it if you want to. I have, and I've really been happy about that.
I'm keeping it, and it's actually sitting in Lebanon alone. But I'm never gonna sell it. I keep it always when we go to Lebanon on vacations. Me and my wife, we always like to drive along the coastline and go to the beach and stuff. It's our typical vacation style when we go home.
Is it a 2-seater or a 4-seater?
It's a 2-seater, but there's a bit of, but you can sit one person in the back, so.
Sideways,
but
right?
It's very fast. I can assure you, very stable even on the corners. I know it on the 140 plus kilometers. I don't know it slower than that. So
that's amazing. Okay, well, talking about something less travel-centric, what has been your favorite or a new hobby that you've picked up during the quarantine and stay-at-home period?
So I always love fine dining. And during quarantine, we didn't get the chance to really experience it. So I was actually cooking fine dining things, trying the mushroom risotto, or trying a Swedish meatballs, or a nice steak, and going to picking the different steaks. And so it was really the cooking side, which I really had to experience and learn new recipes that honestly I've never tried before. But it's fun, it's so technical, and like if you put extra this, it will change the taste. So it was really one of the best hobbies I've had in the past year, let's say.
We'll be right back after this quick break.
Have you ever heard a new digital trend and thought to yourself, okay, does this really matter? Asking the right questions helps you cut through the noise and get down to what matters most. I'm Jim Hertzfeld, host of the What If, So What podcast, where we discover what's possible with digital and figure out how to make it real by asking what if, so what, and most importantly, now what? Subscribe and listen, and together we can turn big ideas into tangible actions so you can get shit done.
I love it. I love it. Well, then my final question is someone who you admire who is no longer alive.
So there's one person, he's a close family member, and his name is Stephen. Actually, it's a lesson that I learned from him. He really developed, like, he came from a modest family, and really was very successful in the architecture engineering world here in the region, in the MENA, and as well as Africa as well. But the main story about the guy that really impacted the decision in my life is he died through a heart attack at 51. And he accumulated all the success and all the wealth that he had during that time, and he didn't get the chance to live it with his family. And Anjad, really, it was a lesson around, it's not about, accumulating successes and succeeding and making money. It's more around enjoying the journey around it. You never know when this will end. And having the time, allocating the time every week with your family, with your friends, to do your hobbies, to enjoy your time, I think it's the most critical lesson I got. And I changed actually my lifestyle based on that.
That's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What did you change about your lifestyle to incorporate the learnings?
Look, in the first, let's say, 7 years or 6 years of my 11-year career, I really was like, I worked and studied like crazy. I slept for 3-4 hours. If I tell you how many certificates and educations and things I achieved in parallel to all the work in consulting and banking and even starting different startups and investing in the stock market, I've tried everything almost. I've lost a lot of money and I won a lot of money, and I've succeeded and I failed so many times. But at the end, all of that is something that, it's not gonna last with you, right? What will last is the memories, the experiences that you've had, like the cute restaurant story you told me in Mexico with the taco, right? About the paying $1,000 for a dinner and then you go and eat McDonald's because you're not full. So these are the things that we actually started the conversation with, and this is what I want to build for the future. Enjoy these moments and look back and say, right, I took the risks, I tried everything, and I did my best. I just want to relax now on my boat and enjoy my time.
I think we're going to be friends. I have a feeling there's a future in-person meeting.
When you come to Dubai, for sure.
Fantastic. 1-star and 5-star dining. You and I, we're gonna make this happen.
I'm gonna take you to that place, and you're gonna pay the bill just to get the experience.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm so excited to just thank you for that introduction. I am now on the person who you are, excited to hear about your journey. And the focus of our conversation today really has 3 parts. We want to hear a little bit about your early foundation. I think, some of our audience are in their educational moment, whether it's their first or their second degree. So, what did you study? What did you learn? Just a couple of questions about that. We want to hear about your corporate experience in both banking and in consulting. And then finally, we want to hear about starting your own firm, about the why and the how, about the tears and the joy of going through that process. And so I'll start at the beginning. I think that's a helpful place to start. And then we'll move through some of the questions. So just at the beginning, give us your professional bio. Give us the background of what you did, what you studied, and kind of a 2-minute overview, I would say. Walk me through your resume of who you are.
I'm gonna mix it a bit with opinions of why I made these decisions, just to add a little bit of flavor to the bio. But initially, I always, wanted to be like a businessman and in finance and investment. And I started off doing a bachelor in business and finance in Lebanon. In a public university. It wasn't a private university. It's one of the best. And then I went into banking, which is a typical career in Lebanon, but it is the best industry back in the days. It's a leading industry in the banking, and it was something that I always wanted to do and try. I started off with risk management. I was managing a credit portfolio. And then in parallel, I studied CFA and FRM, and I did them both at the same time. Usually you see them, people do them separately. They do the CFA, then they do the FRM. I did both at the same time. I wanted to fast track my education and my knowledge, and I found out that they are very complementary. So I the first half of the year I study for the CFA, then the second half of the year I do the FRM. So it's like first half CFA, FRM, CFA, FRM, then CFA. I finished both, and I passed all the levels from the first attempt. I really put a lot of time into it, and I was doing full-time banking career in risk management back then. And after that, I felt that my knowledge is not, and the experience I was having in banking is not enough for me. I wanted to see more, experience more. Like, I have so much education and exposure in the banking still, but مثلا in the banking, Jenny, when you do the credit, you see a lot of people doing opportunities and asking for credit lines, right? You recommend the credit line, but you're not part of their journey. You're not part of the project. And you just do a recommendation and you say, right, he deserves, give him the $5 million or $10 million, right? But I wanted to be part of it and be involved in like the industries and how they are making decisions and building the strategy. And this is where the decision moving into consulting was. And then I approached PwC and I started, I wanted PwC, it's one of the biggest in the Middle East. They have both the deals transaction services, which exposes my CFA, and the consulting, the strategy consulting. I did the interviews. I want to tell you a small story about PwC because, Anjad, there are some amazing leaders in PwC, and I learned so much from PwC. The partner in PwC, he told me specifically, in the last interview, they've done like 12 interviews. He said, Oliver, usually we don't take people from your profile, bankers, credit bankers, they are usually, their minds are blocked. They don't know how to go outside the box. But he said, I want to tell you something. If I had 10 people like you in that room behind you, I would have conquered the region. Anjad, this is a true story, and I can tell you the name of the person. It's Nasif. He is an ex-partner in PwC. And I was really inspired by his answer. And he told me, look, Oliver, and I'm sure a lot of people say that you have ego, but there's a thin line between ego and confidence, and you are confident, and I want you on my team. And this is how my journey in PwC started. And from there, honestly, Gianni, I started flying. The project that I was exposed to and the things I was working on, I gave my best. And I wanted to give my best. It's a choice, right? You have people that go inside these firms and don't really achieve or see a lot. And I think in these kind of firms, you are an entrepreneur. You call yourself an intrapreneur, basically. And you start putting your own objective and you move based on them. I think this is one of the things that gave me that kind of exposure. And then,
go ahead.
Yeah. And then I spent 4 or 5 years in PwC, and then I wanted to see the startup world, and I joined one of the leading vertical farms in the region, and I helped them grow very fast in a short period of time. And then I wanted to do my own thing, which is my favorite, consulting, and this is where Ollen Group came.
Fantastic. So I want to go back just really quickly. I have one follow-up question for each of the experiences. So in banking, you mentioned that you had the credit background and that the way that you sold yourself from banking to PwC was by taking a bigger look at the businesses. Was that something that you got from the standard banking process or something that you took the initiative to do on your own?
Look, I never had orientation. And one thing that I tell you, I had a gap in all along my career I never had a really good mentor that mentored me. I relied really on my own research and reading and looking at different people and different careers. And, I always had a saying, look at, I always go to LinkedIn and check the history of the people. And I see, like, how did you do it, right? I learn, I educate myself always. And if I see someone in a specific position or I meet them, I imagine myself, do I want to be in his place? And this is where I started really experiences and making decisions. But one of the turning points really in that was between the banking and the consulting, I established an actual startup, which is based in education. I did an institute that trains CFA, FRM, and CPA courses. With two of one of them is actually the second CFA in Lebanon. We started that and we were teaching, and I got to meet so many young people in these classes, as well as professional C-level executive that I was teaching CFA. And the kind of questions, the kind of profiles that you see, honestly, even though I was the teacher in the class, I think I learned from them more than they learned from me. And I drove my life from these kind of experiences.
I love it. Well, then the second question was, at PwC, can you tell us the highlight of one project that was a really good learning experience for you?
Yes. One of let's say my favorite project. It's actually a very special project as well. I got the chance to develop one of the biggest whitefish aquaculture companies in the world. And this is something you don't get to do every day, right? And I got the chance to actually lead the full project with a team of 8 people. So let me tell you what is this project. So as part of Vision 2030, there are initiatives, right? One of the initiatives is to create the biggest aquaculture firm in the world, and the whitefish, not the red meat. Like sea bass or sea bream, basically. And the project wasn't only about developing like a strategic business plan or doing it was the full-fledged thing, technical design, the operations, the strategy, the go-to-market, the product design, talking to distributors, getting different stakeholders, even talking to investors and potential partners in the government and the private sector, and as well involving global players and merging different smaller players to create that big firm. And they had to do aquaculture across the whole value chain. So from the feed to the actual distribution. So it was really an eye-opener on everything that could possibly do in an industry which I didn't know anything about. To be honest with you. And I got the chance to go in the middle of the Red Sea and check the farms in the sea and dive and check the cages in the water and see the whole process from juveniles to see the broodstock management and the full fish and the cutting. So it was really a different experience, a new experience, and it showed me what I really wanted to do, which is idea to execution. At Ollen Group.
Amazing. Well, and then I wanted to ask how you picked the startup that you worked with. One of the challenges I think people have when they have all these skills that they build inside consulting, and you go from the variety of the projects that you get inside consulting, when you're picking something, sometimes it comes from another experience that you have. Sometimes it's a relationship. Sometimes it's a curiosity. What was it that helped you pick the vertical farming business that you left PwC to go to?
Okay, so there are different things here. I know it's a tricky topic and how I moved, but I really believe, Gianni, that if you really want to establish a consulting firm, and this was my objective even before moving, was to see the whole landscape of experiences, right? I had the banking corporate, typical suit banking experience. I had the consulting, government, working with different teams, the global aspect, different projects. I had as well, I founded some startup, but I wanted as well a high-tech, fast-driven startup that is based here in the GCC region. And I had a lot of agriculture experience and AgTech experience through PwC as well, agribusiness overall. And then I got through this relationship through my knowledge and the people I used to meet, and they got to know that I know agribusiness, and we had some meetings, and it just, there was a charisma there, and I felt comfortable, and I wanted to try this. And honestly, I wanted to do the Ollen Group before joining the startup. But then, after discussions, and he really wanted my support, I thought about it, what? I can indirectly start up Ollen Group by working with him. So basically, it's consulting at the same time, right? You're helping him design, go to market, develop, fast track the valley of death, which is a common part of startups, taking him to the safe side so he can scale. And then you can exit and continue your own path. And this is where it happened. And honestly, it was an amazing experience. The ability to see and help design and go totally outside the box. And this was the experience by itself. And combining different technologies to create fruits and vegetables in the middle of the desert, it's something that I will always remember, and I learned a lot from.
We'll be right back after this quick break.
If you're enjoying learning about strategy and want to put it into action, one of the best ways to do that is by joining us on a future strategy sprint. Strategy Sprint is a 2-day training process, 1 day for skills and 1 day to plan with a team how to solve an actual case. Then we put you live with a client for an entire week with a coach that is a former McKinsey, Bain, or BCG staff member. Your coach will guide you through how to interact with the client, how to resolve data, and how to make great recommendations. Join us for the next strategy sprint by finding the link in the show notes and registering on our upcoming waitlist. We look forward to having you. Now I want to hear about Ollen Group. I want to hear about how you began it. You said that it was something that you had your sights set on for some time, but the specific timing and the specific setup of this is the time, this is what we're going to offer, and this is who we are. Can you just tell us a little bit about how you made those decisions?
So I always seen a gap in the market, even when I was in PwC, which, by the way, I learned a lot from, and it's an amazing firm, and everybody should join it and learn a lot. But look, at the end of the day, if you go to a client, you should be able to serve the client quickly without the bureaucracy and the siloed approach, right? And even when I was in PwC, I had to move different teams to be able to work on different projects. And honestly, I worked with more than 12 partners in PwC, and I moved a lot because I wanted to see, and you can't see unless you join that team. So I had so many occasions, Jenny, when I sit with a client, and let's say I can sell him or work with him on a feasibility study or a new project or a business plan. But then you go back and you say, let's do a business plan with the client, he wants to work with it. Then okay, let's send this request to the other partner. But I can do it, right? I know how to do the business plan. Then it's limited. And I like to really work with the client and bring value to them. And Ollen Group idea comes from the fact that if you talk to me and I want to help you, I will help you do everything. I have the expertise with my team. And the way we operate, Jenny, is that our teams is not split into separate specialized departments. Our team are separated, but all of them, every team has all the skills in the team. So when they go to a client, they can serve the client across the board. And I give you some of the examples with actual projects that we are in the process of working with now. I'm not going to say client names, but I'm going to tell you really the kind of scope. For example, we're working now with a client in Saudi, big client in the FMCG, and we're helping them design an e-commerce application. We're building the strategy for that, the customer experience, and as well developing the application. At the same time, we are doing the architecture for their different product categories and brands, and as well doing their private label designs and their activation in store and building their overall business strategy. and they have plans to do to go IPO in a couple of years as well. We can support and advise in the future. So you can serve the client at a smaller scale. Let's say PwC can do all of this, but can do all of this through a lot of people. And I come with one team, quickly, fast, without multiple approvals and the back and forth, and just execute quickly, take you to market, and help you go there. And we don't want to just sell people reports. We actually go there and work with them to make it a success. And this is the value proposition of what we're doing.
Now, this is the question that often comes up. Why do they need consultants to do that? Why don't they do it themselves? What have you articulated as the value proposition of what you bring that's differentiated?
It's so simple. You tapped into a very sensitive topic that it gets me so upset when I see online people, claiming, consultants, don't hire consultants, I don't know what. Look, 95 or 98% of the people are not super technical, or they didn't get the full exposure, right? The people that say that are the 5% that are in the market. But a lot of people need help. If you know something, it doesn't mean someone else, knows it or know how to do it. And you shouldn't do everything yourself. That's why you bring somebody that has done that, experienced that, can give you as well a different perspective, right? Give you a different approach, another opinion. Look, you hire a consultant not to tell you what to do, but to help you know what are the options that you can do that you didn't know you can do before, right? This is one of the things. Another thing that you bring a consultant is to fast track things that you don't have time for, or you believe your team cannot deliver based on the speed you want. So this is the thing that I think the most value proposition for a consultant. And there's a lot, look, after the pandemic, I think a lot of people are trying to enter the consulting market from the freelance perspective. And one of the advice I would give them is, before you go to market, identify really who you want to work with and the key target clients that you want to work with and the segments and the industries you want to approach. And at the same time, understand what do you offer them. A lot of consultancies fall in the trap of, I'm a good consultant, I can do this, I'm gonna go and sell my service. It doesn't work. You're gonna it's gonna be very tough for you, and you're gonna burn a lot of investment to actually get some traction. And I think this is where we are succeeding. And I can tell you something, in a matter of couple of months, we have so many, we've participated in so many government proposals, and we won so many projects as well on the private sector here and Saudi as well. And we have different team members across different countries in the world, India, UAE, Saudi, Lebanon, South Africa, US. We have different resources in different locations that do different things. And we use them as one unit. If we can use them online, and if we can't, we use them as well. That we use the resources in the actual countries, and this is where our value proposition is.
Can I ask you a question that I'm sure some people will be asking? What if they want to be on your team? How does someone demonstrate that they're qualified? What kind of experience are you looking for? How does your hiring process work?
Usually, one phone call is more than enough for me personally to really see if someone is really into this. The one call about his experiences, about his story will tell you. I think everybody has potential, but there are some people that are placed in the wrong places, right? And everybody has a skill, but you just need to put the people in the right position to deliver on the skill they have. Many of them, by the way, don't know that this is their skill, but they are put in the wrong places. And what we're trying to do here, me and the partners, is when we get somebody, we really try to identify what is the best thing he can do and see if it fits what we want. And this is how we are hiring. And it doesn't matter if you are in the same country, wherever you are, you can work with us. Most of our projects, most of my meetings are on Zoom. And of course, Microsoft Teams and Google Meet. It depends on what the client has. In general, most of the work nowadays is being done over video calls.
And is your team a collection of subcontractors, or do you have staff members and a kind of I would say like more like a traditional consulting firm where you have 4 levels of consultants that people move up through the ranks? Can you just talk a little bit about career?
We have our own resources in the firm. لأنه you can't scale. We need the resource. We can't do everything ourselves, right? But we have specialized resources in different areas. لأنه we have specific projects that always come and repeat itself. At the same time, if we need specific industry expertise or specific skills, we have access to an ecosystem that we have developed in the past couple of months around the world, and we get you the best expertise in the world. And it's a typical, let's say, from an operational perspective, it's a typical consulting environment, but it's much more optimized from a cost perspective in order to reach a point where we can actually scale. And one of the things that most of the consulting firms fail to do is scaling. And this is where, before we actually started Ollen Group, we really studied the whole landscape of what should be done in order to ensure we scale in the right time and we have the right resources to scale. And this is our business model. We built it in a very dynamic way to ensure that the client are comfortable dealing with us, knowing that we have our own resources, at the same time not to be over-resourced or under-resourced. And this is where I think we're good at.
Now, you've mentioned a couple of times that you knew in the future you would have a convertible. You knew that you would start the Ollen Group. How did you decide that the middle of the pandemic was the right time to start the Ollen Group? That's my first question. Then I have a follow-up question after.
But it's a simple answer. When there's pain, there's opportunity, and everybody was in pain. And look, all my life I fought to get the things I want, and I really studied hard and worked hard and give my best out there. And I thought to myself, I have enough energy and power, to absorb all that stress and like fear, and actually make that decision and go out there when everybody is in fear and not knowing the future. There's a saying in investment, buy when the blood is on the street. And this is exactly what I've done. I bought when the blood was on the street.
And then my second question is, that was your plan. You were ready to execute on it. You jumped in the middle of the pandemic. Can you talk a little bit about what you think it will look like in 10 years from now?
First of all, there's a lot of hype about the new normal and life is changing. And personally, I don't think that's 100% the case. Yes, a lot of things are changing in the way we do things, but this happened every cycle in our life. But just it's hype now because the type of the pandemic is different and a lot of people died. And really, it's so sad what's happening as well around the world, in the US or in the Middle East and Lebanon as well, in my home country. But in general, I see now more penetration in technology. Yes, things will shift. A lot of jobs will be removed and become automated. And I think now if you really want to survive in the market and thrive, you need to always be what's happening in the market. I'll give you a small example. There's a lot of people today that talk about AI. I receive a lot of calls. Everybody is talking to me. He was trying to give me an AI solution and whatever. So then I asked them a simple question, right? Do you know what is AI, right? The difference between machine learning, data science, and and they say, look, then they tell me when they see me like I have knowledge about this, they tell me that, but it's an interchangeable word and everybody says it, right? Look, there's a lot of hype around technology and AI. Yes, there are so many innovative startups and so many new concepts. And yes, the world is changing, I can assure you. But it's not happening in the next 5 years. This penetration around the AI and actual neuroscience will happen maybe 10 years from now. And now, if you really want to be in the fast track towards that, you need to start learning about the different aspects. You don't have to know how to program. You just need to know that it exists. and what is its form and what is used for. And then if you need help in it, hire a programmer. You don't have to do it yourself. But I think this is, if I want to give an advice to the younger, let's say, generation or whatever, I think reading about these things and getting knowledgeable about it is very important. It's part of every discussion I'm having these days.
I love it. Well, I wanted to ask another question just about the Ollen Group. You mentioned that when you are recommending to other people that they think about starting a consulting firm, that they focus on the clients. How did you define what clients you wanted to go after? And what are the clients that you work with?
Yes. So this is as well, it's a nice question because it highlights a very important topic for consulting firms. In the first couple of months of Ollen Group, we actually didn't approach any client. In the first 2-3 months, we just focused on building intelligence around the typical clients we want to approach and getting all the channels to access them. And then we started approaching the client, and every week we sit with at least 10 to 15 C-level executives from the industries that we picked and the segments we chose. And this was driven mainly by our most experienced industries and skills and value proposition that we offer, right? I don't want to try to reinvent the wheel or compete in areas where other consulting firms can give a better service than I do. I want to go to the client and give him a better service than the other consulting firms are doing in the market. But in general, I'm not driving my go-to-market by what the competition is doing. I really believe I'm offering something different than everyone else, just pushing forward on my plan. And basically, I chose as well the industries that will be very transformational. You don't see a lot of agribusiness expertise in the region. You don't see really full-fledged consulting firms around hospitality and leisure. You see specific services, but you don't see the full-fledged consulting. And I will tell you something now, we've never mentioned that. We're working on a very, very, very special project in Saudi, in that sector, from A to Z, from idea to execution. And it's a huge project. Later on, hopefully, I can share some information. But this is where we want to do, right? We pick the industries that are very different and like there's a bit of, not a lot of knowledge around them, and started hitting them hard.
Let me go back to the staffing question. If I'm thinking about working for PwC or working for you, why should I work for you?
You want to work for me today or in the future? Look, I think
I'm happy where I am. I'm asking hypothetically.
I'm talking about the example, Jenny. Look, it depends on your objective. If your objective is to work with the biggest project in the region and with the biggest government entities around the region, definitely go to PwC. If you want to learn, if you are a junior, like a young, fresh graduate, that you want to try or learn a new industry or skill, if I don't have the industry, go to PwC for sure. But if you really want to go on let's say, an entrepreneurial consulting experience that will not teach you one skill, will teach you all the skills and will test all your weakest and your best points and knowledge and skills, you join Ollen Group. And this is what we are offering the people that are joining us. You're not going to work in the best thing that makes you comfortable. I'm going to put you in the most uncomfortable project that you've ever faced, because I think in the uncomfort you build yourself, and you really build your skills. And this is actually how I learned myself. I used to be a finance investment guy that went and did a fish farm and aquaculture. I never knew about this, right? But this is where I learned. This is where I grew.
Fantastic. Well, I have one last question for you. I'm curious what the 3 tips you would be for someone who is beginning their career in consulting. What skills should they be building? What soft skills should they be focusing on? What should they be reading or learning about? Who should they be seeking out? What recommendations would you have?
Okay. before you join the consulting firm, you should put the clear objective. What do you want from the consulting firm, right? Most of the people decide on joining a consulting firm because it's the typical best thing to do to get a quick high salary and get exposed or travel. Or get a free or a paid MBA and then you repay it back over a couple of years, right? But the objective is, what do you want to achieve? Do you really want to become a partner in this consulting firm? Let's say after 10 to 15 years, this has a different path inside. And if you just want to go and learn a certain technical skill or an industry, it's a totally different path. So what happens, people join for the different objective and they get lost inside and they just need to find themselves again. So put your objective straight. The second thing is, you should learn at least one industry very well, because that industry will drive your growth across the other industries. At the end of the day, everyone deals with everyone. Yani, even if you are in the hospitality, you're buying the produce of the agricultural farm. And even if you are an airport, you have travel retail that has the retail experience and the consumer goods, right? Everything is interrelated, but you have to drive your skill and experience through at least one very known industry with a lot of experience. If you can do two, it's better. but at least you need to know one. The third thing is, you need to be so technical about at least one skill. These days, they are automating investment finance stuff, but choose a skill that will differentiate you compared to everybody else, right? You're a very good strategist, like strategy by heart. You're a very good, modeler, data scientist. You have to have a skill. And aside from the three, I want to add two to it, which I believe are crucial.
This is cheating.
I want to cheat. Cheating sometimes lead you. They teach you that cheating is not good, but cheating in a positive way is good, by the way.
Strategic cheating.
Exactly. Cheating. The two things I would like to add is soft skills. You can be the best technical person in the world. If you don't have sales skills, you're not going to reach far. Sales is not selling a project. Sales is convincing people. And when you talk to them, they can trust you from the first moment, right? You can bring them confidence. Consulting is all about trust and confidence. If they trust you, they will work with you. If you deliver results, they will keep on working with you. And this is the trick, basically. And the last thing, if you really want to do consulting, really do it. Because it's very tiring, it will consume your health, and at some point, if you're not doing proper gym session, you're gonna get fat from the late nights at sitting in the laptop. So ensure this is the thing you want to do, but I can assure you it can be one of the most exciting careers someone can have if he really sets his mind to it.
Wonderful. Oliver, is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to end with today?
No, really, you asked me a lot of amazing questions, and you actually brought a lot of memories into the discussion, which I wasn't really thinking about the past couple of days. It was crazy busy. But I think really today, if you really want to succeed, again, you should know about the latest trends in the market. Don't let yourself get eroded or, don't get so cocky that, trust me, whatever you think there's a long way for you to know what's happening. And the market is moving so fast. You need to keep on reading, keep on meeting people, talking to them. And if you can have a mentor that will walk you through the process and he's been there, it's very important to have a mentor beside you, guiding you and telling you the good advice and the bad advice. It's very important to learn from the failures more than the successes.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time, your enthusiasm, and the wisdom that you bring to the space and also to your clients. We are rooting for you at Management Consulted, and you have to let us know if there are any ways that we can help. Thank you, Oliver, for your time.
Thank you, Jenny, so much.
We hope that you enjoyed listening to this conversation with Oliver as much as we did. We loved hearing about his enthusiasm and also about opportunities on his team. If you're interested in joining an up-and-coming consulting firm, you can reach out in the contact that's in the show notes. And if you're interested in learning about consulting more broadly, managementconsulted.com is the place to go. If you have ideas for future podcast guests or episodes, reach out to us, team@Management Consulted. And as always, if you liked this episode, please, would you leave us a comment and or share it with your friends? Have a great day.